Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Kevin Davitt. He's the head of index options content at Nasdaq. We're going to take a look at the family of NDX options. We'll also take a look at VOLQ and get some instant reaction from the Fed interest rate hike. Kevin, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
It's great to be here. Thank you very much for that introduction, and I'm excited to join.
And we are excited to have you join us because head of index options content, that's the new role for us here. Tell us about what you have going on at Nasdaq.
It is. I joined the Nasdaq Index Options team a couple months ago, and big picture, our goal is to help grow that Nasdaq-100 Index ecosystem. In my role, I will obviously focus on content, so public-facing pieces, written, this sort of stuff, as well as education generally. And I think that will help support a great product with already outstanding brand recognition.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here on Trade Talks, always looking for options educational content. Let's start with that, Kevin. Give us a high-level overview and the benefits of the NDX family of options products.
All right, love to. So our crew supports those NDX products. So that includes the Bellwether NDX index options, NQX, XND, which is a newer micro option. Those are 1/100th the size of the standard contract, and it's something that you've highlighted on the show here quite a bit in the past. We've seen great volume growth as far as ADV goes in that product. Our group is also behind the VOLQ index, which you referenced, the VOLQ futures, with our partners at CME, and as of this week, VOLQ options. So I'm going to look forward to coming on the show, highlighting the growth in those products and educating people interested in potential exposure, ways to hedge exposure to the Nasdaq-100.
All right, and speaking of VOLQ, let's dive just a little bit deeper here. We've commonly heard the VIX reference when we talk about volatility and what's happening in the market, the fear gauge. What makes VOLQ unique?
Sure. That's a great question. And the VOLQ index is unique in arguably two key ways. So it is a consistent 30-day forward volatility measure. One of the key differences relative to VIX, which you mentioned, is that VOLQ is based on the at-the-money NDX options. And then the other key difference I just mentioned there is that the inputs are NDX options as opposed to the S&P 500. So again, just highlighting at-the-money focus and the Nasdaq-100 options being that key input.
Yep, and we look forward to learning more about that as we go through our monthly sessions together, Kevin. And finally, let's get some instant reaction from the Fed. They took it up 75 basis points.
They did, and from just a flat price perspective, we're not seeing a huge swing. The broad markets have pulled back slightly, but it does seem like Monday in particular was the day where markets adjusted to this expectation that the Fed would have to be more aggressive than had been priced in previously. There's been a really big move in the Nasdaq-100 since the early May Fed meeting. Based on what your reference is today, it's down about 15%. It seems right now like the market's digesting it. It'll be really interesting to see what happens over the next couple of days and how the market reacts and how volatility broadly reacts to this big Fed move.
All right. Appreciate the insight as always. Oh, and Kevin, actually we have options expiration coming up on Friday as well. So that's going to add a little bit of juice to the market as well.
We do. So you have that third Friday expiration, but this is the quarterly one where generally you see a significant amount of notional exposure come off in index options. And so generally speaking, index options are ideal for hedging exposure or gaining exposure. And there can be some rejiggering, if you will, ahead of these quarterly expirations where market participants either allow their exposure to roll off or move it further out in time. So a confluence of events this week.
All right, Kevin, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.